Hey Las Vegas, we are back here with Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. On today's show, we're going to be talking about why do realtors always ask for a pre-approval letter before you go out shopping and looking at home? What's the process and why is it necessary? So we're going to get into that today, as well as news, market numbers, and everything else that we bring you here on the show. So we've had an exciting week in real estate once again. We had a couple news headlines this week to talk about. What do we got in the news, Courtney?
So first, Nevada homes, which you discussed, I think, last month. Nevada homes are at an all-time high as far as the median price and the home values.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hit that record high again this month for the median price, which next week we'll be getting into all those market numbers for you. But the moral of the story, I guess you would say, is that we, now that we've hit that record high in the median price, we haven't seen any signs of it increasing from there, as far as not for the last 30 days. So we're still holding steady right there. I think the price increases are slowing down because of inventory and movement is not really that strong right now.
So median price point right now is still sitting at $489,000.
Okay. And then we had a huge sell, way above median price. Mark Wahlberg, as many know, he owns a home here in, he lives here in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is his residence. And Summit Club, which is over in Summerlin, very
Beautiful.
Exclusive neighborhood. He just sold a $17 million piece of land out there in Summit. So congratulations, Mark Wahlberg. I wish you would have called me for that listing.
And then one of the new trends now is people are buying houses together like friends.
Yeah, there was a news outlet called Investigate TV, and they put this story together, which so much truth in it too. Is like prices are so high, especially like the millennials are having trouble with affordability.
Absolutely.
And buying homes. So they're seeing a new trend in people and friends buying homes together.
Splitting down payments, splitting mortgages.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but you really gotta like your friends.
I mean, you know, that might be the next bet if you can't find a husband.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into these market numbers for the week. Single family homes, we had 5,153, which was up 88 from the week before.
Absolutely. And condos and townhomes we're sitting right at about 1,969, which is up 10. So not a ton of movement there, but
yeah, a little bit more inventory than we seen last week. New listings, 1,216, which is up 96.
And we had 861 price decreases, which is down 41 from last week.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's just because we're seeing a little bit more movement. Those under contracts are down, though. They're at 903, which is down 135 from last week.
And we are up 144 from last week as far as sold. So we're at 872 for this week as far as sold. So the market is moving, whether that has something to do with people coming in from California with the fires and things the last couple months. But either way, there's definitely some momentum going.
Yeah, definitely. And where are we at this week with rates?
So good news. Rates are looking in the direction we want them to look. However, a lot of that has to do with the reflection in the stock market. So unfortunately, the stock market it's been very volatile the last week or two. And so typically when the stock market, things aren't going great, usually investors start purchasing more so in the bond market, which will drive our interest rates down. So good for us, probably not great for the overall economic picture current moment, but we're sitting right at a 6.7 on the conventional mortgage rates on a 30-year and a high fives for the FHA 30-year. So really looking good on that end.
You know, last week on Friday, I have that mortgage rate app, and I was looking at it. It was 5.75 for a day on FHA, and I was like, yes. And then, you know, come Monday, that went up again. So
yeah, we're still sitting in the high fives, though, which is great. It's starting to trickle down. So we'll see what happens in the next 2-3 weeks.
Absolutely. And you have a loan program to talk about?
Yep, absolutely. So This week, we're just covering conventional loans. Conventional loans are one of our most standard loans that we do outside of a VA and an FHA loan. Conventional loans are typically going to be a little bit tighter qualifications. Usually it's going to be someone who has higher credit scores. The minimum to qualify for that is a 620. You really want to be in the 700s to get the best rate possible. The great thing about these is, unlike an FHA loan, it can be for a secondary, a primary, or any type of investment property. And we can do those with manufactured homes, condos, townhomes. So those loans, we're going to be looking at lower debt to income ratios and, like I said, higher credit scores. And those are going to be our typical standard conventional loans that are going to go through a standard bank.
Okay, absolutely. That's great. And those, you can get rid of MIP if you put a little more down, put 20% down.
Correct.
So those are great programs. So we're going to get into our listener questions on our next segment, and we'll be right back.
Hey Vegas! Are you ready to kickstart 2025 with a bang? The Composer's Room is your go-to destination for Las Vegas entertainment. Every day is a celebration here. From live music to comedy shows to magic acts, the Composer's Room has the entertainment with the Las Vegas vibe. If you are feeling lucky, then try your hand at one of our hot video poker machines. Who knows, you may hit the jackpot. Are you feeling thirsty? Our tavern serves the best drinks in Vegas. Whether you are a cocktail connoisseur or a beer buff, our bartenders got you covered. And let's not forget about the food. Our culinary delights are guaranteed to entertain your taste buds. And what's more, we've been voted best restaurant with live music. Come for the entertainment and stay for the food. Start celebrating 2025 in style at the Composer's Room. Our Vegas, our way.
So every week on our show, we have some listeners that send us in questions. If you guys want to have your questions answered live on the show, you can submit them on a form at our link tree, which is www.realtycheck.vegas. So this week we had Chelsea, and Chelsea wants to buy her first home. She wants to go look at homes before she starts the pre-approval process, and she doesn't want to run her credit, affect her credit score, or anything like that before she finds the home that she picks. And she also doesn't want to feel rushed. Of course, the realtor's telling her that she has to have a pre-approval letter before they go out looking at homes. And she thinks it's a little absurd. I've heard that a lot. And wants to know why this is a thing.
So I think we can speak for both of us, probably. I think at the end of the day, as an agent or as a realtor, you don't necessarily want to waste your time if you don't know what to help a client look for. You don't know their price point, if you don't know their budget or what they're qualified for. It's hard to really know exactly where to start or what to show them.
Yeah, and one of the things that when we talk about pre-approval letters, and again, like you mentioned, it's a time issue, but it's also setting the right expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to go out and start looking at homes, we're looking at $500,000 homes, and you find the home of your dreams, you love it, you're committed, you're set on it, you want to make an offer, you want to get the process started on this, and you talk to a lender, and that's not a payment where you feel good about. You're more in the $400,000 or $450,000 range, and that can be really discouraging at that point. And just really, we don't want to set people up for failure or for discouragement in any type of way. And another thing with that is same scenario. Maybe you do you're comfortable with that $500,000 house, $500,000 payment, but you haven't started the pre-approval process yet. So you're then going to, that usually takes, what does it take, a couple days?
Yeah, it does. So typically we send out a pre-approval. So to do a basic loan application, however quick they fill that out, but there are a list of documents needed to actually be able to do a true pre-approval. And why I say that is we've seen lenders who will just issue an approval, and that's where you get the fallout at the end of the buying process. So for us, a typical pre-approval, if they get us all the documents needed, it takes 24, 48 hours. The great thing about also doing a pre-approval, Chelsea, is at first, if you're not sure where you're at, if you're 6 months out and you're not 100% ready to get an approval, we can also do a soft credit check first, which doesn't hit your credit, so we can kind of look at where you're at as far as credit score, debts, and things like that. But you really want to know where you're at and what you qualify for. I've seen so many times other agents take out a buyer to go look at houses that were $500,000-$600,000, and then all of a sudden they want a pre-approval, and now I'm qualifying them, and they don't qualify for anything more than like $350,000.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're just discouraged and they're done looking.
Yeah, and sometimes they just give up on the buying process altogether. And also there's times where in this process of getting your pre-approval, same home, you've already found the home you love, you already are ready to make an offer, yet we can't, most homes, almost every home, I don't think I've ever seen it where it's not the case, they want a pre-approval letter along with that offer.
Absolutely.
So you can't submit an offer till you have this letter ready. Someone else can swoop in and get that home. And then again, it's just setting you up for failure, and that's just not a strategy we like to take.
And I think there's so many things that go into, even when we check credit, even sometimes, you know, people have a 20% down payment, they have the money, and there's something weird on credit that can throw a whole loan being qualified off, or something that wasn't taken off credit years ago that they didn't know about. And so it's so important to start that process and do it correctly, because if there's something we need to know and fix, we want to catch it before you want to put an offer in on a home.
Absolutely. And Chelsea was concerned about time frame. So how long typically do pre-approval letters stay good for?
So we say 90 days because typically after 90 days, we're going to want most current pay stubs. We're going to want to make sure that whoever is filling out the pre-approval is employed still, and we want to see their current, you know, if they're not on a salary, how much they're working and things like that, what their current income is. And then typically we do rescore as far as credit.
Yeah.
Make sure nothing changed.
And I think another big misconception that people have is when you start the pre-approval process, you'll be pre-approved based on an estimated rate.
Yes.
And that's the current rate at that time.
Correct.
Now, the rate is not locked until you're in contract.
Correct.
And after disclosures go out. So it's like a, I would say, 3-day period, right?
Yep. So typically once you go under contract is when we can look at locking in a rate. A lot of people will get an approval letter, and it's based on the current market rates, and it's a very ballpark rate as of that day. Rates change sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So until you lock in a rate, what you were quoted on a pre-approval rate can be totally different 2-3 months down the road once it's locked in. You can't lock in a rate until you actually are under contract.
Yeah, and so I think that that's another misconception that people have, because I have spoken with people that had a pre-approval letter, say at a 6% rate, and rates were down in the 5s, and they say, oh, I have to go with another lender because they gave me this letter at this rate, I need to find
Correct.
a better rate. But it's not about going with another lender. It's about that rate isn't official until you have it locked in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and then the credit pools. And I hope you would know this better than I do, but I've heard that on credit pools that you can, as a consumer, you can shop around without major hits to your credit
Yep.
within a certain time frame.
Yep. 45-day window. It's a kind of similar to like shopping around for a car. So typically you have like a 30-day window for that. If you were going to look at a bunch of different cars, you have the ability as a consumer to shop around for different interest rates. And like I tell people, you can go to a bunch of different lenders. Until it's locked, it's not locked.
Yeah.
And so it's just a quote.
Yeah.
And so if one lender tells you when it's not locked, you're at a 6%, another one says ballpark 6.25, or, you know, usually it's pretty similar as far as the rates. And so, you know, you want to check your options, but when you start shopping at 10 different places, it's just
And I've
crazy.
heard the kind of the sweet spot in that is if you are like shopping, talking to different lenders or something, is keep it around 3, because if you are going 10 or 12
It's
or
just,
something
yeah.
like that, you will start to see hits for inquiries on that.
And also, too, it's time consuming. You have to fill out an application, turn in documents, and there's just really no need for that. You know, it just becomes over consuming, and people hear a rate that's not locked in. It's not even a real rate. It's just a ballpark rate day of.
Day of.
So that'll all change.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the I guess the other thing that, as far as it comes to pre-approvals, that I've heard a lot of, is there's some system out there. I don't know if it's through the credit company or what, but the minute you apply for a mortgage loan, your phone starts ringing with loan officers trying to get your business.
So there are companies that work with the credit bureaus to basically contact different companies when their credit is checked.
Okay.
And so it doesn't have to do with lenders so much as like when people actually pull their credit. So it's more so through the credit bureaus. That can happen. It doesn't happen all the time. But yes, I have heard that.
Yeah, I've had people call me like, how do I make this stop? How do people know I applied for a loan? And it's somewhere through the credit reporting. They purchase, I don't know, phone list or data or something like that. And yeah, the phone calls do start coming in. And I would say, as advice from someone in the field for a while, you definitely want to vet the lender that you go through.
Absolutely.
Sometimes just because you hear a name often or you see commercials all the time on TV doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the best lender to work with your mortgage. Sometimes some of these super huge companies can be the most troublesome to deal with, because in the local market, it's great to have a lender that's here in the market that understands our market, our contracts, and our timelines.
And depending on, you know, who you're going through, the much larger the actual lender, typically it's harder to get things approved right away with underwriting, and the process can be a little bit longer. And sometimes it's nice to just be able to pick up a phone and reach the underwriter that works internally, whereas a lot of these large companies, it's not such a quick process because you have to go through so many different hoops to get something done.
And you don't know who you're working with. You're stuck in a call center. You don't know who's the contact person. And at the end of the day, they do just such a high volume, you'll really just end up like a number. So
Correct.
a lot of people don't like that part of it. So yeah, so we hope we answered all your questions on that, Chelsea. And thank you guys for staying tuned, and we'll be right back with our closing.
Hey Vegas! Are you ready to kickstart 2025 with a bang? The Composer's Room is your go-to destination for Las Vegas entertainment. Every day is a celebration here. From live music to comedy shows to magic acts, the Composer's Room has the entertainment with the Las Vegas vibe. If you are feeling lucky, then try your hand at one of our hot video poker machines. Who knows, you may hit the jackpot. Are you feeling thirsty? Our tavern serves the best drinks in Vegas. Whether you are a cocktail connoisseur or a beer buff, our bartenders got you covered. And let's not forget about the food. Our culinary delights are guaranteed to entertain your taste buds. And what's more, we've been voted best restaurant with live music. Come for the entertainment and stay for the food. Start celebrating 2025 in style at the Composer's Room. Our Vegas, our way.
Welcome back. So Courtney, what have you seen as far as a raise in loan applications this week with the rates dropping? Have you seen like a spike in applications for refinances?
I haven't seen too much. I think a lot of that depends on, I think most people who got much lower rates when the mortgages were down, I think even at this point, if they really want to pull the equity out of their home, they're just not wanting to touch it. Back when, you know, rates were really low, what we had was a ton of people that were paying off all their debts and still lowering their mortgage. They were pulling out $100,000, $150,000 of equity. I've paid off people's credit cards that were $80,000, $100,000.
Wow.
And so right now what I'm seeing a lot of is people contacting me that have lower rates, wanting to inquire about, oh, should I refinance and pull the equity out if they need the money? And when you refinance, you're literally changing your whole rate. So if I refinance someone that's sitting at a 2.5%, 3%, we're paying off some of their debts and things they need to pay off with the equity. Now I'm changing the rate sometimes to 6.5%, 7%.
Yeah.
So it really depends on each situation. We look at how much money, because, you know, sometimes we pay off $1,000 worth of credit card debt a month. Right now, their mortgage payment might go up $600, $700, but they're still saving $300, $400 a month on cash flow.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends the situation, but my professional advice, if they don't absolutely need to, is wait to do that until they absolutely have to, or maybe take out a personal loan where they're not changing their whole rate on a first, because it was so incredible to have a 2.5%, 3%, which we talked about, you know.
Now, there's still options out there where you can pull a second mortgage from
Correct.
your equity without
Correct.
redoing your entire mortgage.
Correct. So you can do like a home equity line or a line of credit and pull out a second. Now, typically those rates are going to be 10, 12%. So you really want, yeah.
Those are high.
They're high.
Yeah.
So you really want to look at what the situation is. If that's the best case scenario, then go for it. But it's not always ideally the best rate. You know, I always tell people, if you're really in that situation, look at a personal loan versus a home equity line or a line of credit. Typically, the lowest cost you're going to find to do one of those is through like a credit union or a standard bank.
Yeah.
And so that is an option. I think it really depends on where you are and how desperate you are for the money. I try to avoid changing someone's first mortgage rate if you can.
Yeah, definitely, especially if you have one of those 2% or 3% rates locked in that were so great in the past. We definitely don't want to touch that. And then with people that are buying homes right now, are you still seeing a lot of, I know we're starting to kind of get used to the rates where they are right now. So are you still getting a lot of pushback or sticker shock when people hear the new rate?
I don't think it's that. I think it's more so people qualifying based on the cost of, I think it's more so having some issues with people having down payment money or qualifying as far as their debt to income and things like that. So I think the rates are higher and it has caused some issues, but I think we're working around that as best we can.
Yeah, I feel like people have kind of accepted this environment of rates right now, and even the slightest change. You know, a couple years ago, you said a 5% rate or anything above it, and people were like, wow, that's way too high. I don't even want to consider that. And now, anytime we mention fives, they're like, oh, that's amazing. That's a really good rate.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is definitely had a change.
The lower the rates come down, the busier we're going to get. So, you know, we're looking forward to that, but there's always a little bit of volatility in other markets, so it's kind of a balance at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can stay tuned here with us. We will be tracking and reporting rates, market numbers, market activity with you every week. We are now on the Hey Vegas TV network, so you can find us at heyvegastv.com. If you've been following the show in the past, just go to our link tree. There's a link to the website right there where you can find us if you have Apple TV. Amazon, what is that, Fire TV or Roku, you can download the app and watch us right there on TV. So we're really excited to be here and excited about that.
Absolutely.
And Courtney, how do people get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me by calling 702-416-6918. Call or text me. I'm always available.
And you can reach me at 702-308-2878. You can call or text me. I do return phone calls, which is not the norm, but I do. And you guys can follow us at realtycheck.vegas. The link tree for everywhere that we're at is right there. And you can follow us on social, send your listener questions, and see our new spot at Hey Vegas TV right there. So please make sure that you follow us, like, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll be here every Thursday, and we'll see you guys next week.